Why do some people look much younger than their age? It's a question you've probably wondered about, especially when the world insists on reminding us of the number of years we've been alive. Maybe you've witnessed one of these small, everyday miracles yourself. At a family gathering, a person reveals their age and the room erupts in disbelief, a chorus of, "There's no way," and "What's your secret?" Or perhaps you've been on the receiving end. A store clerk asks for your ID, her eyebrows arch in surprise when she does the math. These moments are fleeting, sure, but the underlying astonishment lingers. Why is it that some people, irrespective of their circumstances, seem to resist the gradual creep of the years? It's easy, too easy, to chalk it up to winning the genetic lottery or to some expensive skincare regimen, but deep down, you know it's got to be something more. After all, we all know people with the same background and resources, yet only a few appear to glide through the decades with a certain glow. Isn't there something strikingly evident, yet almost invisible, about those who truly look ageless? Something that can't be bottled and bought at a cosmetics aisle, something that transcends the surface? Let's press pause on the usual suspects, genes, sunscreen, retinol, and step back. What if the truest roots of youthfulness are unseeable, at least at first? A set of invisible threads woven deep within mindset, woven by the small daily choices that build a psyche rather than a skincare routine. Imagine youth not as simple luck, but as an openness to experience, a flexibility in our emotional life, a courage in the face of hardship. What if the appearance of youthfulness is not bestowed, but quietly earned, every morning and evening, through the way we think and feel and respond to life's drama? I invite you to consider this possibility. The face isn't a billboard for collagen so much as it is a reflection of the interior, the theater for how we process loss, forgive disappointment, lean into laughter, find hope through exhaustion. Pause for a moment and think of someone you know, or perhaps a stranger you've seen, whose face seems unburdened by the relentless tides of time. Maybe it's that neighbor who, despite losing her spouse a decade ago, emanates a serenity. Maybe it's the teacher from your childhood who always found new excitement in each year's class. These are not the people who have coasted through life unscathed. On the contrary, life has demanded everything from them. Yet there is a sparkle, a brightness that persists. It's tempting to call it good genes. But is that really all there is to say? What is their secret? Is it merely a robust metabolism, or is it an emotional alchemy, a resilience shaped from hardship? If you were to stand in front of the mirror and really look, not at fine lines or graying hair, but at the expression you wear out into the world most days, what would you see? What silent story would your features tell a stranger? Is youthfulness simply a state of outward preservation or an outward sign of an inward joy or acceptance? There is a hidden story within every seemingly ageless person, a story of perspective as much as of biology. Consider, in the grand experiment of being human, does our appearance reflect only our habits and routines, or does it also echo the way we metabolize experience itself? Some people emerge from storms with sighs and scars etching themselves clearly onto their skin. Others, inexplicably, seem to grow softer, more radiant, their trials absorbed, their faces curiously smooth, not by denial, but by a certain kind of profound engagement with reality. Does that mean that aging itself is a choice? Can a conscious shift in how we meet adversity, in the stories we tell ourselves, be enough to alter the tempo of time's march across our features? We must look past the surface and see that agelessness is not an accident. It is, I'll argue, a conscious achievement. It's rooted in psychological patterns and emotional habits, each a subtle chisel shaping not just who we are, but what we appear to be. It isn't something you are granted, and it's certainly not something you are denied by fate. It's a consequence of the perspectives you nurture, the burdens you set down, and the grace with which you let life move through you. So let's be bold enough to move past the notion that youthfulness is purely a gift, fleeting and arbitrary. What if, by adjusting our inner posture, by tenderly observing our mental habits, by allowing ourselves to heal and even to laugh at disappointments, we could, if not freeze time, at least slow its progress in a way that is evident not just to ourselves, but to everyone who meets us? Does looking younger begin with a choice, a set of realizations, a kind of inner revolution? These are the questions I invite you to consider as we begin to untangle the real and surprising secrets behind aging, appearance, and the ageless soul within us all. If you've ever looked at two people of the same age and wondered, why does one seem lit from within by some invisible vitality, while the other appears weighed down, older, almost dimmed by life, you are not alone. It's one of the mysteries that both art and science return to again and again. Is it genetics, luck, skincare, or something deeper? What separates those who grow old in body but remain youthful in spirit? And, remarkably, whose faces and energy reflect that inner youth? The answer, I want to propose, lies not in miracle creams or secret rituals, but in our psychological soil. The qualities we nourish day after day, year after year. Let's take a closer look. If you speak with people who consistently appear younger than their age, whatever their outward appearance, but especially those whose faces, voices, and presences remain fresh, you'll notice some striking similarities. They are resilient. When life knocks them down, and life does, relentlessly, pummeling us all with setbacks, heartbreaks, disappointments, they may pause, they may stagger, but they rise again. Resilience isn't some superhuman immunity to suffering. It's the willingness, sometimes grim and always persistent, to get up, dust yourself off, and move forward anyway. Not by denying grief or frustration, but by refusing to let those emotions set up permanent residence. And then there's emotional mastery. Perhaps you've seen it. People who, after a public failure or betrayal, don't collapse into a puddle of self-pity. Instead, they acknowledge their pain, grieve a little, and then let it pass through, not allowing the bitterness to set in. They seem to have learned the art of processing emotion without being ruled by it. Have you ever held on to a grudge for weeks, feeling it gnaw at your insides? The science here is sobering. Harboring resentment or chronic negativity keeps our stress hormones like cortisol spiking. Over time, this doesn't just affect our mood, it literally changes the face we show the world. Chronic stress etches lines into our skin, dulls our gaze, drains us physically and spiritually. Fatigue becomes more than a feeling, it becomes our default setting. But the people who stay youthful, regardless of the years, have attuned themselves to life's impermanence. They let go of what they cannot control, of old grievances, of the fantasy of perfect safety or certainty. Paradoxically, this act of relinquishing control actually makes them more capable, not less. It leaves them with the energy and flexibility to adapt. Adaptability, in fact, is another of their defining traits. Picture the friend who, when circumstances change suddenly, a job is lost, a relationship ends, or the world itself tilts off its axis, responds not just with anxiety, but with a kind of curiosity. What now? What can I learn from this? Where might this lead me? They see new experiences not primarily as threats, but as opportunities for growth. Science backs this up too. Neural plasticity, the brain's extraordinary ability to adapt, grows in response to challenge, to curiosity, to lifelong learning. Those who keep learning, asking, exploring, whether a new language or a new recipe, literally keep their brains younger, rewiring themselves for flexibility and newness. Have you ever sat down with an older person who remains mentally sharp, full of stories, opinions, and laughter? That sharpness isn't accidental. It is the result of decades of openness, of a willingness to question one's assumptions, to try something new, to return again and again to the stance of a beginner. Youthfulness is tied not to the absence of years, but to the presence of wonder. So, what can you do right now to cultivate these anti-aging qualities, not as a magic trick, but as the most natural, hard-earned beauty treatment in the world? Start, perhaps, with acceptance. Notice the impulse to control everything, and practice letting go what you can't. Ask yourself, when things go wrong, what's the lesson here? How might this experience, however painful, help me grow? When anger or disappointment surge, experiment with expressing it, talking, writing, moving, then see if you can release it rather than stowing it away inside, and make curiosity and playfulness daily habits, not rare treats. Try laughing at the absurdities of life. Truly, laughter dials down physical stress, stimulates healing, boosts immunity. Seek out, every single day, something you haven't done or considered before. Read a random article, listen to a new song, step outside your routine. These small acts of openness keep the mind supple and the heart alive. Resilience, emotional mastery, openness to change, and curiosity. These form the true fountain of youth. Cultivate these, and you may find that the lines left on your face are not the scars of life's hardships, but the gentle etchings of joy, wisdom, and vitality. Your energy will brighten, your presence will become magnetic, and you'll radiate the kind of beauty that no amount of time can erase. Isn't that a future worth moving toward? One mindful, open-hearted day at a time? Let's pause for a moment and consider how it feels when you truly, deeply allow yourself to laugh. One of those uncontrollable bursts of joy that reach down into the belly and ripple out, unfiltered, unrestrained. Or think back to the times when you've let yourself cry, not just a polite welling up, but sobs that leave your chest sore, your eyes pink, and your spirit curiously lighter by the end. Isn't it astonishing, the tangible sense of renewal that follows? It's as if the whole body, weighed down by concealed burdens, suddenly remembers how to breathe freely. That is the subtle magic of emotional authenticity, the courage to actually feel what we feel. How often do we silence that urge? You know the moments, biting the inside of your cheek at a funeral, stifling a laugh in a silent classroom, swallowing your worry for the sake of composure. For many of us, the compulsion to keep it together has trained an entire lifetime's worth of emotions into careful, compressed storage. What happens to all that unexpressed energy? Science speaks loudly here. Studies in psychosomatic health clearly link pent-up feelings to real physiological symptoms: tension, headaches, gut pain, high blood pressure. There's a remarkable experiment by psychologist James Pennebaker showing that people who regularly engage in honest, written emotional expression enjoy measurable boosts in immune function. And it doesn't just stop at health. Have you noticed that people who are expressive, quick to laugh, unafraid of tears, often retain a certain vibrancy, even youthfulness, in their very posture and skin? Emotional honesty is visible. It radiates outward, enlivening even the features and gestures through which our story is told to the world. This brings us naturally to the environments in which we live and move. There's a silent, undeniable shaping force in the company we keep. Imagine two workplaces. In one, a steady thrum of support, warmth, even a touch of humor softens the grind of daily demands. In the other, Tension crackles, kindness is sparse, and the only smiles are those worn like masks. Which group do you suppose walks home lighter at the end of the day? Which bodies will slump, and which will dance out the door? It is inextricable, this interplay between social atmosphere and physical self. Chronic exposure to negativity is more than disappointing, it is physically exhausting. Stress hormones linger, faces harden, the body withdraws. Meanwhile, communities suffused with compassion and openness reveal a different fate for their members. People age more slowly, blood pressure drops, hands reach for each other more. It's not only poetic but clinically observed. Positive social connection acts as a buffer, slowing the relentless tick of aging, safeguarding not just our spirits but our bodies too. But what if we look deeper still? Beyond simple connection, there are those who, regardless of age or circumstance, radiate a peculiar kind of energy. There's that elderly sculptor whose eyes still gleam with the hunger of discovery. The teacher who, after 40 years, bounds into the classroom and electrifies young minds. The grandmother who wakes at dawn to tend her wild, joyful garden. This vitality isn't merely a quirk of genetics or luck. It is the outward mark of an inward fire. Passion and purpose are the ancient medicines for aging, and unlike youth itself, they can be chosen, stoked, even reignited. Just as muscle strengthens with use, the human spirit flourishes when called into excitement. Consider the famous longitudinal Harvard study of adult development, which found that those who cultivate strong social bonds and a sense of meaning lead not only longer lives, but ones that are fuller, more youthful in outlook, and physically robust. Or look to cultural anthropologist Angela Wong's studies on Okinawan elders, a population known for both longevity and vigor, where active engagement with purpose, whether practicing music, gardening, or teaching, is foundational. It's passion, not just nutrition or genetics, that animates their faces with an unmistakable brightness. In fact, cultures that celebrate open emotional expression and creative engagement, think Mediterranean villages, tight-knit artist colonies, tend to defy the stiff, age-appropriate demeanor so many of us accept. Of course, it would be naive to pretend these are the only factors. Genetics unmistakably draw the broad outlines. Privilege and possessions affect the resources we can marshal. But if you look closely, if you watch the vibrant octogenarian dancer or the twinkling-eyed grandfather who survived more hardship than most, you realize that while biology sets some boundaries, it is the mind and the choices it makes that determine how we grow within those lines. It is our capacity to feel deeply, to connect authentically, to pursue passions with childlike devotion that keeps us bright, even as the body weathers. So ask yourself, are you hiding laughter for the sake of composure? Are you allowing the world around you to sap your color? Or are you finding ways to surround yourself with those who rekindle your spark? Have you let your passions dim, or do you seek them out with curiosity, as if youth were still yours to claim? The answers are visible, not just in how you feel, but in how you look, how you move, how you age in the eyes of everyone you meet. So here, at the juncture of our conversation, let's gather the threads we've woven. Throughout this reflection, we grappled with the tantalizing question, what does it truly mean to remain youthful? From our journey so far, one thing stands out with clarity. It's never really been about the creams, the number of candles on your birthday cake, or the fleeting approval of a culture obsessed with fresh faces. Rather, the secret lies in far deeper reservoirs. The energy that animates a youthful countenance originates in the mind's attitude, the open heart, the quality of our connections, and the everyday habits of our spirits. The stories we tell ourselves about aging, the small choices in how we greet the world each morning, and the tender or tumultuous relationships we nurture. These shape us far more profoundly than any superficial regimen. Take a moment to recall individuals you've known who defy the stereotype of their age. Maybe it's that grandmother who laughs like a mischievous child, or an uncle who, well into his 70s, pursues new ideas with undimmed curiosity. Their faces might bear the lines of time, yes, but don't their eyes hold something luminous? There's a reason for that glow. It springs not from denial of age, but from a kindling within that refuses to cool, a zest for living that creates a gentle radiance no artifice can conjure. Ask yourself, is that something you recognize in yourself, or would like to invite in? Along this winding inquiry, a truth has surfaced. Letting go, truly, deeply letting go, is among life's most powerful rejuvenators. Consider the toll of old grievances. How often do we clutch resentments close, considering them part of our story, our shield, our warning for the future? Yet have you noticed how such burdens etch themselves not just in memory, but onto your very posture, your expression, the lines around your eyes? Bitterness, guilt, regret. They have a way of setting into our musculature, tensing the jaw, weighing the shoulders, dimming the light from within. The act of forgiveness toward others, and crucially toward ourselves, can feel fearful, as though we're losing something precious. But in truth, what is released is a long-held weight, giving us not only psychological, but viscerally physical release. Imagine what it would feel like to reclaim the upward sweep of your body's carriage, to unshackle the heaviness of old hurts, and to meet your reflection with a lighter gaze. It has been said that the face is a mirror for the soul. I invite you to contemplate, what does yours reveal? Our outer aspect bears silent witness to our inner climate. Moments of joy soften our features, flashes of anger or shame crease and clench. Over days and decades, the emotions we rehearse leave their mark. But what if, instead of amplifying whatever negativity life has lodged in us, we practiced the art of release? What if we allowed compassion, purpose, and spontaneity equal room to shape our expressions? In doing so, we would not simply look younger, we would be more alive. This is not a call to artificial cheerfulness, nor to deny the real hardships that scar us. Rather, it is a summons to self-honesty. What are you holding on to, even now, as you listen to these words? An ancient injury, the sting of a missed chance, an environment that stifles your spirit, old habits of complaint or self-protection. What would it mean for you to identify these things honestly, and then, little by little, to step away from them? Imagine cultivating curiosity where there was apathy, laughter where there was cynicism, forgiveness where there was grudge. These too are youth's secret arrivals, habits of mind and heart that can be summoned at any season in life. And so, as you reach the end of this reflection, I invite you not to chase the shadowy past, nor fret for the years ahead, but to look inward, now, with a courageous eye. Are you willing to let go of what no longer serves you? Can you foster a defiant hope, a renewed sense of purpose, a willingness to engage hungrily with the world anew, just as a child greets each day as an adventure? Remember, the truest youth is not measured in unwrinkled flesh, but in the warmth of your engagement, your ability to wonder, to forgive, to love without reservation. In the final calculus, youth is not an age, but a fire within, a living flame kindled by resilience, curiosity, passion, and tender relationships. Whether you are 18 or 80, the door to ageless living stands ajar before you. All it asks is this: will you step through, Release what burdens you and claim the vibrancy that has been within you all along. The adventure is yours to begin, today and every day, for as long as you choose to stoke that inner flame.